Okay, so welcome to the CLA demo that's been put together for Pernod Ricard. I'm just going to highlight some of the key features that make up the CLA platform. The first module I'd like to introduce you to is the ability to push marketing, internal communications, HR, IT branding to people's desktop backgrounds. A very, very powerful place to put announcements because most corporate PC users, like I do, have shortcuts and icons on their desktops. And so you'll see it's a very powerful place to put an announcement because people access their wallpaper at least a dozen times a day. And putting messages through the wallpaper is very effective. You'll see that the design of the wallpaper is such that the branding shouldn't cover the whole screen. You should leave a solid color so that people are able to arrange their icons on the left-hand side and your branding will appear on the right. A few other things about the wallpaper: you can have multiple banners rotating. You can also pre-schedule content in advance. So if you have an events calendar or you know what campaigns are upcoming, you can preload your content in advance and know that on that date, at that specific time, the campaign will change. You can also push different content to different departments or divisions in order to segment your communications or different regional locations. So the desktop background is the first of what we call our subliminal channel, and the intention of this module is to create awareness and vastly reduce the amount of internal email. So simply by replacing people's wallpaper and complementing it with module number 2, which is our screensaver, these two modules work together in a very complementary manner to create awareness through high repetition in a subliminal manner. And the result of these two channels is a vast reduction in the amount of internal email that is needed. If you only replace screensavers and wallpapers within the space of a couple of hours, the entire company will know about this awareness drive around the coronavirus with 0 emails needing to be sent. The screensaver and the wallpaper, both of them can be pre-scheduled in advance. Content can be loaded according to your events calendar, and different content can be pushed to different audiences depending as required. A person gets back to the desk, they interrupt their screensaver, they log back in again, and the campaign is being reinforced through the so these two modules work really. So what I'm going to so these are our non-interactive channels. It's a channel which is it doesn't have a click through or drill through to anything. The next module I'm going to speak about is the pop-up messaging. This is where the campaigns are actually interactive. The pop-up announcement to an attachment. The first one I'm going to show you is a pop-up linking to annual results. It is going to be a link to an intranet article, or an internet article by Alex Ricard. The pop-up announcement arrives on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. It is always the topmost message. So no matter what application you're in, whether you are switching between Excel, you'll see that the pop-up arrived on the screen and it is the topmost, regardless of what application I'm opening. So here you'll see you can brand the pop-up. You can also change the level of flexibility. So if you wanted to, you could make the snoozable, and you could choose, the user is able to choose between, say, 1 hour, 2 hours, and 4 hours to snooze a message. But in this case, the pop-up is critical. It cannot be snoozed. It has to be clicked on. And when we click on this pop-up, we see it opens up an internet page, which is your financial results, or your report, at least. The pop-up is also fully tracked, so you're able to see on whose screen the pop-up arrived, who clicked it, who snoozed it, which is the measurement element behind the pop-up. Makes it very unique, because most other internal communication platforms, the biggest pitfall is the inability to measure. So that is where the pop-up is very powerful. So what I'd like to show you now, I actually pre-scheduled a different campaign, and you'll see that on my desktop background, the campaign has changed from being the coronavirus awareness. It has now changed to being awareness around the new passion fruit flavored absolute vodka. So here you'll see, again, the design isn't taking up the whole screen, because if it was, it would be very difficult to read your icons. Right, so our recommendation is to keep the same template so people don't have to shift their icons around, but all of this detail about the design will be given to you in a design best practices document. So I have loaded another pop-up now. This next pop-up is going to be a pop-up linking not to an internet page or an intranet page like the previous example. This next pop-up is going to be linking to a PDF document, which is your magazine. Now, I didn't get a copy of your magazine from Avita, so I just went and downloaded another PDF document. But again, you see it's interactive. We move the mouse over it. We click on the pop-up. It disappears, and this time it opens up your PDF document in your default viewer. Okay, so once the document is opened, the person will then whatever you typically do with a PDF document, ability to share or sign, or it opens it in your default PDF viewer. Okay. The next example I'm going to show you is the pop-up, which is purely being used for an announcement. There isn't actually a link to anything. It's purely for the purpose of when here we see this pop-up is join us for a business update with Paul Roberts at 4 p.m. in the bar area. There isn't any attachment link to it. You simply click on it to acknowledge it, and it tracks the fact that the specific person did actually read and acknowledge that particular pop-up. Right, and the last example I'm going to show you is an example with how CLA can be used in a questionnaire or a survey. There are a number of different functionalities behind a CLA survey. There are three main features. Firstly, gathering general feedback. The second is RSVP, and the third purpose is testing and training. The example that I've set up here illustrates all three of these functionalities. I've got a few questions from Avita, and I put together a little survey to show you how it works. So again, the pop-up, the survey is delivered via pop-up. So one of the main reasons why companies get such low response rates in their questionnaires is because in the absence of a tool like CLA, surveys are delivered generally through online tools like SurveyMonkey or SharePoint, and the invitation to the survey arrives as an email. Now, the biggest problem with email being used as a communications channel is that emails are far overutilized. It's a completely overutilized channel. We get far too many emails on a daily basis. So to expect staff to now answer a survey that's delivered via email, it's never going to happen. So instead, we are delivering the survey via pop-up. We click on the pop-up disappears. It'll record the fact that I clicked on the pop-up and that I launched the survey, and this is how the survey clipboard could look. What we're seeing here is the survey title and a quick introduction message. We click on yes, we'd like to participate. And the very first question you see, it's asking us whether we'd like to attend an annual conference. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my diary onto the screen here, and I'm going to move to the 22nd of July. And you see on the 22nd of July, you see that I've got my diary is completely open on that day. I've got no meetings on that day. Okay. So I'm going to keep my diary open in the background, and I'm going to say, yes, I would like to attend this conference. And when I click on yes, you see it's going to actually add it straight into my diary. So here I've got the annual conference, which is being held at the Jameson Distillery, and that's been put and reserved in my diary. Takes us to question 2. Question 2 reads, which of the following 3 are Pernod Ricard's values? I know it's entrepreneurial spirit, mutual trust, and sense of ethics. So I'm going to choose those 3, and I'm going to click on the mark button, and it marks me correct. The next question, what is our 3-year strategy called? I also know it's called Transform and Accelerate, but let's get this one wrong. So I'm going to mark it as, I'm going to vote sustainability and responsibility. Click on mark, and it marks me as incorrect. So these 2 questions illustrate how the tool can be used for testing and training, whereas the first question showed us how the tool can be used for RSVPs and direct Outlook integration. The last question, do you want to send an anonymous question to our senior management team? Type the questions below. So Avita did give me a few examples of questions which would be used. So here we go. Why was the sales team restructured? Will there be any job losses in light of the coronavirus and prospects of economic decline? And why do we not have a deposit return system for Red Heart Rum? I actually did forget, I just noticed now, to mark this question as anonymous. The user will be told by a little icon here that the question is in fact anonymous and they can answer openly. There is no way for you to see who answered this specific question if it's marked as anonymous. I will click on next. Takes us to the conclusion screen. There were 2 scored questions. I got 1 correct, 1 incorrect. This is just a conclusion message that you can specify. Click on finish, and we're done. Just to show you what the reminder in the diary looks like, when I open up this particular event, we have specified this event to be, well, we can choose between private, high, or low importance. We've chosen high importance. You can specify how it shows in your diary, the reminder before the event, the subject, location, start and end date time. You can specify a body, as well as put in an attachment such as an agenda, map, directions, itinerary, whatever you need to put in as an attachment. So really, really powerful and useful. So I have been asked to keep this demo very short, so I think I've managed to keep it within 10 minutes. So just to summarize, the screensaver and the desktop background, these two are subliminal channels. High repetition and intention of those two channels working together is to create high levels of awareness, but to vastly reduce the amount of internal emails. Pop-up messages, those arrive on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Those are always the topmost window. They're going to appear above any application, so they need to be used sparingly because they do create big impact. But they are interactive, can open documents, videos, you name it, and you can control the flexibility that the user has when the pop-up arrives and also fully track the interactions. And then we've just seen the survey conducted now, which is a combination of being able to gather general feedback as well as testing and training, and in addition to that, also RSVP with Outlook integration. I hope this has answered most of your questions. If there's any additional information required, you can let me know.